Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, on this smashing Sunday for what is going to be an interesting video on Ripple and XRP. Now, it's been a bit of a crappy week for XRP and the Ripple community on the back end of course, the SEC appealing the lawsuit that very much went in Ripple's favor and the fine that they had levied on them. I think it was something like $125 million. And of course, the SEC has appealed that decision by right. It's now going on the Second Circuit. And it looks like if it's to play out the process that the case is now about to embark on, you're likely going to get a verdict in 2026. Now, there's a number of things that can happen that I'm hopeful for. One is Congress can overthrow it. Two is somebody like Trump could win and essentially throw Gensler out of office. And I think even if Harris wins, she spoke about essentially electing Gensler to Treasury, Secretary Treasury. He's going either way. So I actually am a lot more hopeful in regards to this case not taking that full length of time to play out. Even if it does, and we've always said this, and my portfolio in regards to the percentage of it that I hold in XRP reflects the fact that we've always said XRP, even though we're expecting something technically to really kick off, or we have a technical pattern that we think is going to take XRP to about $19, that doesn't have to take overnight. That can happen this bull run. It can happen in more of a kind of longer process, if you will. And that's why XRP is about 6 or 7% of my portfolio. Ultimately, we don't want to be in that situation that many XRP holders were in back in 2021 when the entire cryptocurrency market, I literally changed my life in that bull market. I think many of you guys are going to do the same in this one. I actually think XRP is going to do well in this one, despite everything that's currently happening. And what I want to do is kind of cheer people up a little bit with this video because we're going to be looking at some really interesting things. The first thing that we're going to do is obviously start off with our price analysis and really just looking at the fact that nothing's largely changed on the back end of this. The macro pattern that we are still looking at is still very much in play. We have said it's dependent on sort of taking that 93, 94 cents range, and then you're essentially on your way to $19.27. And that's going to put XRP at over $1 trillion in terms of market cap, which some think is impossible. I happen to believe it's not. I actually think XRP is going to be used more for currency than the likes of Bitcoin, which of course is the largest cryptocurrency at over $1 trillion. Bitcoin's really shown us that a coin can get to $1 trillion, and there's no reason that if XRP does what it's set out to do and becomes that sort of enabler of the new financial system, and I think it's in that number one spot to do so, $1 trillion, really I don't think is that spectacular. I think it could go above and beyond that potentially, but I do think it's more than achievable. So in regards to from a price point of view, our price prediction for XRP is very much still in play. And in fact, in regards to the current price action that we've seen, this was really ugly, but really you're at the same price that you were a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and this is the kind of unfortunate story, I guess, of XRP. It's been a massive underperformer, but I think it will become a spectacular overperformer. And that's where I want to segue now into. What I want to do is, first of all, talk about the debt that the US currently is spiraling in. And we've spoken about how stablecoins are going to play a role in furthering the dollar dominance around the world. And I don't think that XRP is just going to play a role within the United States. They're also going to play a role sort of globally. There was some really interesting news in regards to BRICS. So this is from their October Summit 2024. Shout out to Smoke, great guy to follow over on Twitter. You can see within this BRICS by BRICS, BRICS Pay has adopted ambitious objectives in the area of financial inclusion and efficiency. Proponents say that the initiative will make trade between the BRICS nations seamless and allow transactions in real time across the use of blockchain-based systems. Currency settlement with the BRICS bloc will give members the flexibility to use a specific currency amassed in one country to trade with another. And that's what XRP has essentially been, it was entirely created to do. BRICS pay will likely lead to further fragmentation of the global financial system ahead of this potential launch at this year's BRICS summit. So I think, some people are speculating that this might be XRP. There's nothing particularly specific about that. Also, XRP being used as a gold or used to sort of be that what a kind of currency backed by gold essentially runs on. We have spoken about how stable coins are going to play a massive role in the world that we're moving towards, and actually XRP with their real USD, certainly from a United States point of view, become the kind of golden child, if you will. They're going to become a unicorn stock, Ripple, on the back end of what they're going to do with their technology, just like Amazon, Nvidia, all these other stocks, American. They all ultimately are the companies that they are because America has used them to further their global agenda. Ripple's very much going to play the same role, and actually uniquely it's going to solve many issues with the financial system in the form of who's going to buy the debt. They're going to back stablecoins with the debt, just like Tether do. Tether getting delisted by Coinbase in Europe and many others out there. Likely we'll see something similar for America. It's really going to set precedent for the rise of real USD and thus XRP. So there's lots of really positive things, I think, when it comes to XRP, and I think that negative news that we had on the back end of last week, it's just delayed things broadly. And I want to actually dive over to a clip now talking about how these things take time, the implementation, and we're going to hear from a former Goldman Sachs executive saying that central banks are dragging the dollar just long enough to bring in a new system that concentrates all the world's money. Debt, of course, is money also. She's talking about how this takes time. So I want to go ahead and play this clip, and then we're going to talk about Swift. So what I wanted to do was actually talk to you guys about Swift's announcement last week. They essentially said they're going to start actually going live with digital assets. Swift system has, I think, over 11,000 financial institutions under it. And people are worried that this is going to kind of put XRP into a space of irrelevancy. I think the exact opposite is true, and certainly as somebody who's a big fan of Chainlink and Swift are working together to enable Swift to leverage the rails of the cryptocurrency space, and of course in regards to the remittance market, money itself, Ripple, XRP are in that kind of prime position, and there are links in regards to Swift more broadly. We know MoneyGram, of course, Stellar Lumens have a hand to play in sort of Swift's competitor MoneyGram. But let's dive into this clip from a former Goldman Sachs executive talking about a new kind of financial system. We know one is coming, and if you ask yourself the question, okay, well, we also know that they're going to use distributed ledgers, blockchains. Who's in that number one position to capitalize off it? And the answer, ladies and gentlemen, is XRP. Don't let this lackluster price action, just like what we saw with Amazon after the dot-com crash all the way till 7 years later, be the reason that it, to not be paying attention to what certainly is technically signal and more broadly fundamentally is quite likely to take place. Let's dive into this clip.
For many decades, the dollar has been the reserve currency, and the system is what I would describe as long in the tooth. And the central bankers are trying to bring in a new system, but it's not ready to go yet. And we're in a period of great change and uncertainty where the central bankers are trying to keep the dollar system going and accelerate. So they're trying to lengthen the dollar system, and then they're trying to accelerate bringing in the new system. So I describe the new system as the end of currencies. So we're not bringing in a new currency. We're essentially bringing in a new transaction system that will be all digital and essentially end currencies as we know them. So what they're trying to do involves essentially all the money on the planet. So it's big, it's complicated, it's messy.
What they're trying to do involves all the money on the planet, and that includes debt, because debt is the kind of other side of the money equation. Money is borrowed into existence, and there's a hell of a lot of debt out there. You need to figure out what to do with that without sort of creating a complete collapse. And these things take time, and that's exactly what XRP is doing. It's taking its time, but we do think, ultimately it stands the best chance in regards to blockchain of actually being used to enable this new financial system. I truly do believe that, guys. I'm not just saying that because I hold XRP. The reason I hold it is because of this, and of course, technically what we looked at the start. Yes, it's not my largest position, but it's a decent chunk of my portfolio. Because it's a bet that I'm willing to take, and whether you guys are or not is entirely up to you. But I think there's some undeniable things, just like it flashed up there. Ripple has over 1,700 contracts with financial institutions. It includes things like governments. There's a lot of reasons. There's not just nothing here, guys. And there was some news that came out last week, which was huge news for the industry as a whole. This is from Swift. Exciting news. Starting next year, financial institutions from around the world will start trailing live digital assets and currency transactions on the Swift network. This makes an important milestone in our journey to enable banks to transact interchangeably across both existing and emerging assets and currency types using their current connections to Swift. Cross-border payments. Who's the leader of that? As new forms of value emerge, our intention is to continue offering our community the ability to seamlessly make and track transactions of all kinds of assets using same secure and resilient infrastructure that is integral to their operations today, says the Chief Innovation Officer over at Swift. So live trials of digital assets transactions on Swift are to start in 2025. Now, it mentions that this is going to happen on the Swift network. What is the Swift network? It is a messaging service. It is not a blockchain. Swift do not have their own blockchain. What they did do was partner with the likes of Chainlink to utilize their CCIP, which is a connective tissue. I think it's going to become a standard in regards to how blockchains communicate with one another, to essentially gain access. Chainlink is going to be the connective tissue, I think, between the traditional financial world and the blockchain world. And they're going to leverage, you can see here, leverage existing infrastructure to drive change, ensuring interoperability between financial institutions, back and middle office systems, and growing number of blockchain networks will be essential if trading tokens becomes more ambiguous. Instead of building new infrastructure and technology stacks entirely from scratch, financial institutions want to leverage their existing infrastructure to connect blockchain ledgers, where tokens are recorded in a way that is both compliant and secure, XRP. Not only would this help firms simplify their architecture and operations, but it also minimizes investment costs and reduces risk of technological obsolescence. And they're working with Chainlink to do this. So Swift isn't going to replace Ripple. Swift is going to use Ripple. What I want to do now is actually dive into a clip of an individual who is from Swift himself. He's very familiar with Swift, talking about actually the usage of XRP's ledger with Swift. Let's dive into that clip.
Swift is the preeminent messaging system for the financial industry, which covers, say, payments, FX, trade, in terms of securities, etc., Nostra reconciliations, etc. What we're looking with the crypto, though, is where Swift would have a store and forward system for most of its payment transactions, where you need service level agreements that in a certain time I will do something, but payment turns up at a certain time during the day. Here we're looking at the new network styles, which allow instant, real-time movement of the funds and visibility of those funds as well. So we would not have a situation where banks need to come back to you and say, have my funds arrived? It's 3 days later. I need to find out or find query messages moving around the network. There's nothing like that. I don't believe Ripple is going to replace Swift. Ripple is one of the complementary networks which is going to allow those institutions who need real time to make use of that. And I think we're also seeing that Swift are changing their network capability so that real time will be a possibility as well. But we may also see Ripple XRP moving across the Swift network as a currency when we're perhaps using.
So I think he very much, we showed you that release from Swift talking about how they want to leverage underlying blockchain technologies to do the very thing that XRP was built to do. And there are crossovers. Again, I want to refer to Smoke, and the other one is Mr. Man. Shout out to these two, following them both on Twitter. Good guys to follow if you're interested in XRP indirectly. And here's how. Blockchain networks can be interlinked for cross-border payments through a single gateway using Swift's transaction action manager. So they're using Chainlink to kind of do this. They're CCIP. People sleep on Chainlink. Chainlink's going to be huge as well, by the way, guys. Ripple enable partners like Finastra use RippleNet to facilitate cross-border payments for institutions such as Swift. Finastra Ripple-powered app Fusion Total Messaging plays a key role in this. In the third image, you can see how Fusion Total Messaging cited as being capable of handling messages from Swift Transaction Manager. The last image shows how a partnership like Ripple and Finastra can source XRP to facilitate transactions over the Swift network without direct relationships between Swift and Ripple. This is how Ripple indirectly integrates XRP into Swift network faster than trying to partner with each of Swift's 1,000 members individually. By aligning with key tech providers for Swift Transaction Manager, Ripple is positioning XRP to dominate the cross-border payment section. And you can see this. There's undeniable links here. It's really why I don't understand why people, I think it's just, you know, what people on the internet like. No matter how you dissect it, Ripple will find its way into this new financial system, whether it's Swift partners with Finastra and Finastra's utilizing RippleNet cloud services or Volunteer Technologies connecting to Swift via API. Ripple is there. It's not a matter of belief, but rather a matter of fact. We also very much do agree with this. Ripple within the new Swift network. You can see a lot of evidence out there, guys, and I just wanted to share some of it because I feel like it's another blow to the XRP and Ripple community on the back end of the lawsuit. However, hang in there. You know, I'm certainly from where I'm currently sat. If there's going to be one distributed ledger that's going to play a major role in regards to the digital transformation of money, it's going to be XRP. And what's the value, if it achieves that, going to be? Could it be $1 trillion? Back to my point at the start of the video, I think it absolutely could. That's it from me, ladies and gentlemen. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks a lot for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, as always. And I'll see you all in the next one.